Winter driving is so scary. Hey guys, welcome back to Mad English TV. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I want to tell you some stories of scary winter driving experiences that I've had. And I want to sprinkle in some vocabulary that hopefully is useful and probably new for you. Sometimes the best way to learn vocabulary is to listen to a topic, right? A certain topic. So today we're going to talk about winter driving. And as we, come across big words or new words relating to winter driving, then, it's going to make sense to you, right? So that's what I want to do today. Talk about this topic and sprinkle in some new words, new terms for you. So guys, this episode might be a bit long because I'm going to be telling some stories. I might start rambling. So get yourself some popcorn or some pizza, or what are you going to get today? What kind of snack food are you going to eat? What are you going to munch on during this lesson? Let me know down in the comments. Munch on means to kind of eat a snack. So hopefully you can munch on something during this lesson while you listen to me ramble on and on. So guys, if you live in Canada or the US right now, you're probably aware of the fact that we have really cold weather these days. For the past while, and it's continuing right now while I'm making this video. It's like minus 30 outside. So yeah, if you live in large parts of Canada and the US, we're experiencing a very cold period of weather. You might see news stories like this, Polar vortex storm dumps largest snowfall on Belleville in 53 years. Okay, Belleville is a city in Ontario. What does this mean? What's a polar vortex? Have you ever heard that before? A polar vortex is polar. Does this ring a bell? If something rings a bell, that means it kind of it reminds you of something, right? What does this word remind you of? Polar. There's an animal with this word in its name, polar bear. Right? Where do polar bears live? Polar bears live way up north in Canada in a cold climate. Okay, so when you hear this term, we're talking about cold, something cold. What does this word mean? Vortex. Well, vortex means something that is spinning. Okay, it could be like a weather system that's spinning, or maybe in the water. If the water is spinning like this, that could be called a vortex, or maybe something in the air. So it's kind of, vortex means it's going around like this. So when we talk about polar vortex, we're talking about a weather system. Okay, so basically what it means is extremely cold weather for several weeks. Okay, so if you live in the even in the southern part, I heard there's even in Texas, they're getting really cold weather. Texas is the southern part of the U.S. So a huge part of the U.S. and most of Canada is extremely cold these days. So I'm sending you my warm heart is sending you some hugs today, guys. So the first story I'm going to tell you is that recently I got caught in a blizzard. What does that mean? I got caught in a blizzard. What's a blizzard? A blizzard is a snowstorm. Okay, it's where it's snowing and it's extremely windy. Okay, most of the time in Canada here, when we get a snowstorm, a blizzard, it's snowy, it's windy, and very often there is zero visibility. Okay, visibility. Now, let me just check, guys, if we're recording. Yes, we are. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for smashing that thumbs up button. So visibility means what you can see. Okay, right now I see you. Unless you're watching this in the bathroom, then I'm not watching you guys. I don't see you. But if you're sitting on your couch, where are you watching from, guys? Let me know which part of the world. What are you doing right now? Are you sitting on your couch? Are you in bed? Are you in the kitchen? Are you driving? It's probably not a good idea to watch YouTube videos while you're driving. What are you doing? So if I say I see you, that means you're visible to me, right? So visibility is something that your ability to be able to see. Well, if there is zero visibility, that means you can't see anything except snow. Okay, have you ever been in a situation like this where you have zero visibility? Like here in Canada, everybody who's lived in Canada for a while, for a winter, this happens every winter. You know what I'm talking about. Just zero visibility. It probably in the Middle East. I've seen videos of sand storms where you get sand, and just imagine sand, and you suddenly you can't see anything in the sandstorm. You have zero visibility. So when we talk about zero visibility, it could be snow, or it could be, if you're in the Middle East or maybe Africa or somewhere, it might be sand, or even rain. So, usually even if it's raining really hard, usually you can see at least a little ways. But anyway, so zero, that's what we're talking about with zero visibility in a blizzard. That means you can't see anything. And there's a word for that. It's whiteout. Okay, so a whiteout is a blizzard where you have zero visibility. All you see is white everywhere. It's crazy, guys. Sometimes in Canada, you can be, like, the weather changes really quickly here. 1 minute it can be really, like, you can see pretty far. The next minute, suddenly you can't see anything. So it's just a total whiteout. Guys, I remember one year, this was about maybe 15, about 15 years ago. I was in Calgary. I was a student at the time. I was in downtown Calgary. I was in a building. I was doing a group project, some useless group project, but I was in a building where I could see most of the buildings in downtown Calgary. Okay, so it was maybe on the 10th floor, 12th floor, or something like that. I could see a lot of the city, and suddenly, this was in the winter. Okay, suddenly a wall of snow literally was just coming toward us, our building. So this wall of snow was just moving, and you could see it just swallowing up the buildings in downtown Calgary. Like, you could see a building, and then suddenly the wall came and it just like swallowed up the building. You couldn't see the building at all. So I could see this wall moving toward us, and then it hit, and it literally, in about 5 seconds, like, first I could see out this direction. I could see everything for miles. Here we use the word kilometers. Miles are miles. A mile is what they use in the U.S. But even here in Canada, sometimes people use miles. So a mile is like basically 1.5 kilometers. Okay, so I could see for miles and miles, but then literally 5 seconds later, I could see nothing except white. So this is like a wall of snowflakes, a storm, right? That just blows in. So it can be really dramatic sometimes. And sometimes a snowstorm only hits half of a city. Okay, so if you're looking at the weather app and you're looking at, maybe your weather app says that the weather's going to be fine for driving. And maybe you want to go out shopping or something. But, the weather app might be wrong because sometimes weather is very localized. I don't know why. Here in Canada especially, I think it's just really, it can hit one small area. Like you could get a snowstorm in one little area. I mean, not all the time. Sometimes it's kind of widespread, but just sometimes it's like that. So sometimes you might get caught in a blizzard. Okay? So what does that mean if you get caught in a blizzard? We use this word caught because nobody's planning on it, right? Imagine if you go out shopping and you think everything's fine. Everything is fine, right? You go shopping, you buy your stuff, you leave, you get in your car, you're driving home. Suddenly, there's a blizzard and you can't see anything. And that means you got caught in a blizzard. Well, that happened to me recently where I was driving. I was on the highway and suddenly, in just a few seconds, there was zero visibility. And by zero, I mean zero. I couldn't see a thing. And so I just stopped my car, well, my truck. I was driving my truck on the highway. I literally couldn't see anything, so I just stopped on the highway. Have you ever been in that experience? Have you ever been in that situation where you literally can't see anything, and so you just have to stop? It's a very scary experience, actually, guys. If you've ever experienced winter driving in Canada, I've had so many scary experiences, and trust me, if you've never driven in Canada in the winter on the highways, like, it's so scary. You think you're going to die. Okay, so this was one of those situations where I stopped my truck right on the highway. And, nobody stops on a highway, right? Have you ever been on a highway here in Canada? Nobody just stops on the road. If you want to stop, you stop on the side of you pull over. But in this situation, I didn't even know where the side of the road was. I couldn't see any. I just couldn't see. Literally, I couldn't see anything. So, what should you do in this situation? Well, I put on my hazards. So you should put on your hazards. What does this mean? This means your hazard lights. So on your car or your truck, on each corner of your vehicle, you have those orange lights, right? So, you push a button in your car. It looks kind of like this. There's going to be a button in your car, probably somewhere in the middle of your kind of dashboard or console right there, right? So it's going to look like this. So you push it, and that means that your four lights are going to start flashing. And that communicates to other drivers who might see you that you are in a situation that is a bit abnormal, right? You might be driving slowly, or you might be stopped, or you might need help, or you might, I don't know. It just makes other drivers aware of you that your situation is not normal. So yeah, it's a good idea to put on your hazards in a situation like this. Right? So I put on my hazards, and I rolled down my window. Like, I didn't stop right away. When it hit, I was like, oh boy, this is scary. And I just was kind of driving a little bit. I wasn't sure. I rolled down my window, and I was looking straight down beside my car, my truck, right? I was looking straight down to see if I could see the line in the middle of the road. Because as long as I could kind of see the line, I thought maybe I can keep driving. But even that, I lost visibility of the line. Like guys. So basically, when you're in a blizzard, the snow is blowing sideways. Okay, the snow is just completely blowing sideways. We still recording? Sorry, I always get paranoid that it stopped recording. Anyway, so the snow is in a blizzard. The snow is blowing totally sideways. So it's blowing like under your car, all around your car. You can't even see anything. You probably can't even see the front of your car. Okay, so that's how serious it is. You can't see anything. So I was looking down. I lost track of that. I certainly couldn't see anything. So I just stopped. I just stopped. Guys, I just stopped on the highway. And this is a dangerous thing, because if for some reason somebody's driving and they can see a little bit better or something, and they're just gonna go, well, they're gonna rear end you, right? If you rear end someone, it means you hit them from the back, from behind, right? So you just imagine, like in the situation when I stopped, if there had been some vehicle behind me that didn't stop, it would have just been dead, guys. Like, I don't know. It's scary. It's so scary. But when you can't see where you're going, you have no choice. And so, like, I didn't even know I couldn't see the shoulder. And the scary thing is, so do you know what the word shoulder means? This is a normal highway, right? You got 2 lanes. You need to drive in this part of the road. The side part here is called the shoulder. Okay. Now, some places in Canada, the shoulder is paved like this. Okay. In some highways, the shoulder is unpaved. So then it's just gravel. Like on this part, you can see in this picture, that part there is just gravel. This part is paved. I don't know if you can see it in the picture, but and basically the gravel part is right beside the ditch. Okay, in Canada, like sometimes highways have pretty steep ditches, right? So the ditch is like the valley beside the road, the highway. So like this is the ditch over here. That's the ditch, and the ditch is over here. The ditch is the part beside the highway, right? And most of the time the highway is built up quite a ways, and so if you go into the ditch, that's scary. That's really scary in the winter. You're not getting out. Then you're not getting out. You're stuck there. So I didn't want to keep driving and try to find I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see the shoulder. So like you might be able to kind of feel the shoulder, but then how do you know really that you're on the shoulder? And what if you slide into the ditch? And guys, I just stopped. It just stopped, and this is scary. It was scary. Scary experience, guys. If someone rear ends you, you're done. So have you ever had that experience before? Yeah, very scary. Now, guys, another term I want to just talk about is cold snap. A cold snap is a few weeks of cold weather. Okay, so, I mean, when we use the word vortex, like a polar vortex, we're talking about a weather system. When we're talking about a cold snap, we're just talking about the temperature. Like a polar vortex is a cold snap. So whatever you want to use. So every winter in Canada, we get cold snaps. So a cold snap might last for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then we might get a few days of warm weather, or at least not super cold. So yeah, so right now, like most of Canada and the US is in a cold snap. Okay, so now I want to tell you a story about last year. So, last year there was a cold snap on the prairies here in Canada. The prairies are the middle provinces in Canada. I was driving through Saskatchewan, and It was scary. I had a very scary experience. I was looking at the weather app before I started driving, and like with a cold snap here in Canada, you might be looking at the weather forecast, and for literally the next 2 weeks, it might be -40 weather, -30 or something. And so if you need to drive in one of those days, like if you need to get somewhere, you need to make a decision. Are you just going to sit where you are? Let's say you are on a trip or something, you're in a hotel. Are you just going to sit in a hotel and do nothing for 2 weeks while you're waiting for the weather to get a little bit nicer so you can drive again? Or are you just going to take the risk? So in this situation, I was looking at the days and I was like, I probably should just go today. And so I took a risk. And I just went for it. It was really scary. It was one of the worst driving experiences I've ever had in Canada. So I just want to show you a video of the good part of the day. So this was a good thing. So look at this video. This was great. This was the best. This was like during the best part of the day. See, this is driving in a situation like this isn't that bad because you can see the line. As long as you can see the line and you can see a few things, like you can see here, this is not zero visibility. This is reduced visibility, but it's not zero. Because look, we can see the trees, we can see these vehicles, and we can see the line. Now, when you see snow like this, snow that's blowing across the road, that's called drifting snow. Okay, so the snow is drifting across the road, and that's normal here in Canada. If you've done any highway driving in Canada, you know what I'm talking about. Most of the time it's not that dangerous. Most of the time it's pretty normal. It's fine. You're driving and the snow just blowing across the road. As long as you can see the line where as long as you can stay in your lane and see a little bit in front of you, it's fine. It's normal. So this was the good part of the day with drifting snow. But the thing is, with drifting, when snow is drifting, it might start collecting on the road and forming little hills on the road. And those are called snow drifts. Okay, so look at these snow drifts on the road. So a snow drift just means, it doesn't have to be on the road. It could be anywhere. Like you imagine if this is your house, and the wind is blowing from this direction, the snow's coming from this direction. That means on this side of your house, there's going to be a massive, like, hill of snow. That's called a snowdrift. Okay, so you can see on the road here, we got pretty big snowdrifts, like probably 2 feet, maybe 2 feet tall and stuff like that. Now look at this. In this picture, the snowdrifts are just on part of the road. Well, when I was driving through Saskatchewan that day, the snowdrifts, they looked like this. They were as big as this. The problem is that they, for a lot of the trip, these snowdrifts were covering the whole highway. And I'm talking about the number one highway here in Canada, the Trans-Canada Highway, the great highway, the big highway that goes all across Canada, right? And it was so scary. It was scary because that day was extremely cold. I mean, it was all the days were cold during that cold snap. Like it was like -30 or 40. It was colder than -30 for sure that day. And I don't know how to explain this to you if you've never experienced this before, but weather that's colder than -30, it's so cold. Like if you get stuck somewhere, you're just screwed. Like on days like this, the problem is people try to drive like I did. Right? I tried to drive that day, and people end up in the ditch, or they end up needing help, and they call emergency services. And so on days like this, all the emergency services in a city or all across Canada, in a certain area where there's this, where it's really bad weather, all of the emergency services are slammed. That means they're busy. They're all busy. All the tow trucks are busy. You're not going to be able to get a tow truck to come and pull you out of the ditch on these days. So usually when there are days like this, there's just hundreds and hundreds of people who need help, and the city doesn't have the resources to deal with everybody. So yeah, so it's really scary. Driving that day was so scary. And I mean, I wasn't driving a little car. I was driving my truck. Okay, I was driving a truck, pickup truck, right? And how did I survive? There was only one reason why I could keep going in this situation. And do you know what it was? That's because I was tailgating a semi. Do you know what that means? Tailgating a semi. Well, let me explain. This kind of a truck is called a semi. Semi. Now, some people pronounce this word semi. But I think most people in Canada, at least I say semi, okay? So this is a semi. Semis, they're big, they're huge, right? Now, what does it mean that I was tailgating a semi? Well, this is a tailgate here. Okay, look at this part of the truck. The back of a vehicle is called the tailgate. Like on a truck, particularly, it's this part here, right? Yeah, that's the tailgate. But the word tailgate also means just the kind of the back of any vehicle. So I was so this word can be a verb. Okay, this is a noun here. This is the tailgate. But if we make tailgate into a verb, that means to drive very closely behind someone. Okay, so I was tailgating a semi, which means I was driving. The semi's like right in front of me. Like I'm like very close to the back of the semi. And most of the time, that's kind of a dangerous thing to do. It's not a good thing to tailgate people. People don't like it. Drivers don't like it, Like imagine if you're driving and someone is driving like right behind you. Like, what are you doing, buddy? Like, it's weird. And it's not safe if you're on the highway. Because what if you need to stop? Then the person behind you who's tailgating you, they're not going to be able to react in time to stop. And so they're going to hit you, right? They're going to rear end you. So most of the time tailgating I think it might even be illegal. I think you could get a ticket for it if the police sees you tailgating. I think they can give you a ticket for that. I don't know. I don't really know what the law is, but normally, right, when you're driving behind someone, you have to give a certain distance, right? But anyway, when you're tailgating someone, you don't give distance. You're literally like right there. And when it's kind of it makes you feel safe when you're tailgating a semi, because a semi is so big, right? A semi can just plow through anything. So these snowdrifts, like small snowdrifts, like 1 or 2 feet tall, the semi can just go right through them. So I was just tailgating a semi most of the way. It made me feel safe, right? Because and even sometimes with like if there's a risk of animals running over the road, like deer, for example, in Canada here, that's quite common for deer. Deer are kind of stupid animals. Sometimes they just like run in front of cars. and then you hit them, and it can be a very dangerous experience, actually. It can be really very dangerous. Because especially if you're in a car, right? If you're in just a very low car, if you hit a deer, like deer sometimes can be pretty tall. What's going to happen? Like deer have long legs, right? You might just take out the deer's legs, and then the body of the deer might end up in your face, right? So, got a toonie here for some reason. Yeah, so, when you're tailgating a semi, it can kind of make you feel safe, because imagine if a deer were to run in front of the semi. Well, the semi would just annihilate it, right? The deer would just disintegrate. If the semi hits a deer, the deer would disintegrate. Probably the driver of the semi wouldn't even feel anything, because semis are so heavy, they're so big, But anyway, so I was driving my truck. I was behind the semi, and the semi was just plowing through these snow drifts. So that made me feel safe. Do you know what the verb plow means? If you plow through something, it means you go through it. So, like a snowplow is this kind of a vehicle. Its job is to clear the snow. So it plows the snow off of the road or the highway or whatever. Now, a semi is not a snowplow, but we can use the word plow to talk about semis. A semi plowing through a snowdrift, right? Or plowing through anything, right? You're not going to stop a semi, guys. It's just massive trucks. That's why it kind of makes you feel safe if you're hiding behind a semi, because, and especially on that day was also there were times when there was like zero visibility. All I could see was the tailgate of the semi, right? So having the semi in front of me gave me like a reference point, something I could just look at the tailgate of the semi, and I could just drive. I didn't have to figure out where the lines on the road were, because a lot of that day, for hours and hours, I couldn't see the lines on the road, because the road was covered in snow drifts. For some reason, these semi drivers, guys, sometimes I think they're a little bit insane. Like, semis, even on the worst days, you see semis driving on the highways. I don't know, they're good. I guess they're good drivers, or they're confident or stupid, or I don't know what they are. But anyway, I was just trusting the semi driver to figure out. He knew where the road was. I didn't. So I was just looking at the tailgate of the semi, following behind him. So I was tailgating him for hours and hours that day. And that was how I managed to survive that day. So that was extremely scary, because I've driven on the number one highway so many times in my life, probably hundreds and hundreds of times in my life. But I've never driven on, this was the only time I ever experienced snow drifts that literally were covering the entire highway. Like, it was insane. Yeah, and the thing is in Canada, some of these stretches of the highway, the word stretch there means like a part of the highway. They're so long, like between cities. Like when this happens, when it snows, right? The cities, they send out their snow plows to clear the highways, especially the number one highway, because that's the main highway that goes across Canada. Well, on this day, it was snowing so much, and I don't know, like there I did see snow plows. There were these big snow plows that were out there, but the thing is, like, when a snow plow goes, like, it just takes a few minutes in that kind of weather for more snow drifts to appear on the road, right? So it's really hard to manage like hundreds of kilometers of highway with just a few snowplows. Like, it's impossible to keep the roads clear in that kind of weather. So yeah, that's my story, guys. Driving through Saskatchewan last year. Now I wanted to ask you if you know this term. Have you ever heard of black ice? What is black ice? Does it mean the ice is black? No, it doesn't. Okay, black ice is a thin layer of ice that appears on the road that you can't see. You can't really see it. It's thin, and the reason it's dangerous is because you don't really know it's there until suddenly you start to slide, right? So, the color of the road is black, right? And so you're driving along, you think, oh, there's a road. I can see the road. It's not covered in snow. It's not covered in ice. So I'm good. And then you kind of, suddenly, you start to slide. Oh boy, you lose control of your car. Oh boy, So that means you hit black ice. Okay? So black ice can be extremely dangerous because you don't know you're not prepared for it. You don't know it's there. And this has happened to me so many times when I've been driving. That can be on the highways or even in the city. There's black ice on the sidewalk. Maybe you're going for a walk. You think the sidewalk is normal, but suddenly it's super slippery, and so you slip, fall down, and break your elbow or something like that. So yeah, it's really bad. So one day I was driving back to Calgary, and this is what it was. This is what it looked like. It's just a little video. So yeah, this is what it was like driving, and this day was super scary actually because there was black ice on the highway. Guys, when there's black ice on the highway, it's like the highway just becomes, you just lose. It's so easy to lose control of your car. You just feel your vehicle sliding, and it's so scary. Do you know the feeling of this is? Where you're driving and your car is still moving forward, but you're kind of like sliding, and it's like, oh boy, what's gonna happen? You don't have any control. You have no control over your car, but you're going right forward, and it's just so scary, guys. So here again, snow is drifting right across the road. Let me play the video again. Yeah, you can see a lot of drifting snow, and also because there's black ice, your car can drift too. Okay, so drift is also used for a vehicle. If a vehicle moves sideways, that's called drifting. Did you know that? So if you watch a movie and there's cars, let's say there's a car chase and a car goes around a corner like this, right? If a vehicle is moving sideways, then it's drifting. That's called drifting. So if snow moves sideways, it's drifting. Or if a car moves sideways, it's also drifting. Okay? So here the snow is drifting, but because there's black ice, suddenly you can realize your car is drifting. It might drift into the ditch. Okay, look at that. I mean, the ditch is over here, right? You might hit the ditch. Fortunately, I didn't hit the ditch that day, although I was really scared that I would hit the ditch. And the thing is, I saw so many vehicles that day in the ditch, like hundreds and hundreds. I was driving back to Calgary, and so many vehicles in the ditch. So that's what it means to hit the ditch, right? Nobody wants to hit the ditch. Why do they hit the ditch? It's likely because of black ice. Okay, because there's ice on the road. Now, and sometimes ice can be under a layer of snow. Okay, so if sometimes you don't know if there's ice, like if there's snow on the road, it doesn't mean that necessarily mean that there's ice under the snow. It might be a normal road under the snow, but there might be a thin layer of black ice under the layer of snow. So, it's just really dangerous. So it's so easy for your car to slide into the ditch. And then we say, hit the ditch. So a lot of people hit the ditch that day. And I remember I was driving, this was a few years ago. I was driving super slow. I was going like 10 kilometers an hour. It's just driving really, really slow for hours and hours. It took me hours to drive what normally would have taken me, like let's say you're on a normal day, if you're going 100 kilometers an hour, well, how long 100 kilometers an hour is going to take you 1 hour to go 100 kilometers, right? What if you're driving 10 kilometers an hour? How long is it going to take you to drive 100 kilometers? Not 100 kilometers. 100 kilometers. How many hours is it going to take you if you're driving 10 kilometers an hour? It's going to take you 10 hours to drive 100 kilometers, right? Because you're just going so slow. And that's what that day was like. It took me, there was a period before, I don't know, I was going like between 10 kilometers an hour and 20 kilometers an hour for hours. I was just driving there, listening to the radio, right? Because I was, and sometimes if you're far out of a city, the radio won't work. You won't get any radio signal. But because I was close enough to Calgary, there was I could get radio signal, right? And they were saying on the radio, don't call a tow truck. If you hit the ditch, don't even bother calling a tow truck, because all the tow trucks are already in service. You won't get one all day. Just wait till tomorrow. Okay? So just imagine this. Imagine if you hit the ditch. And if you hit the ditch, guys, you can't get out of the ditch. Your tires are just going to spin in the snow. So what are you going to do? It's just really, really scary in that situation. So that day there were police, all the police were out on the roads and the highways and stuff looking for people to rescue. Because just imagine this. You hit the ditch. How are you going to stay alive? What are you going to do? Your car is not getting out. You're going to need someone to save you, right? So all the police officers are out. Police officers are usually pretty good drivers. They have good training. They usually police officers don't hit the ditch. But even sometimes you see police vehicles in the ditch. Maybe like, guys, black ice, there's nothing you can do about it. Now, sometimes in Canada, sometimes people put spikes on their tires. Like, so in the winter, it's a really good idea to have winter tires on your vehicle. It really helps. It really makes a difference. I think the province of BC has made it mandatory to have winter tires on your vehicle in the winter. At least part of BC maybe, or something. But even winter tires are kind of powerless against ice. Because if you've got just ice, like what's winter tire gonna do on ice? Nothing. What you need is like spikes that dig into the ice to help you stop, right? So you can actually put like chains. You might see in Canada here, you might see vehicles with chains on their wheels, like on the tires to help them stop, right? Or like little like spikes, like little like studs, things that go into the tire to really increase the traction in winter driving. The word traction means that it the way something grips the road. So if your car grips the road well, that means you have good traction. If you're just sliding and drifting all over the place, that means you don't have good traction. I can hear a snowplow outside my condo right now, clearing the snow. Guys, this has been a crazy period of cold weather that we've had in Canada. So, guys, you know what? In all my years, of winter driving, I have never hit the ditch. Can you believe it? I've gotten so lucky. I have never hit the ditch. Knock on wood. If you knock on wood, do you know what that means? Knock on wood means you go like this. You make a little fist, and you knock with your knuckles. I'm right now on my desk. You can't see my desk, but you knock on wood means you go like that. And what this phrase means is that you hope your period of good luck is going to continue. Okay, so this is a little bit of like a superstitious thing that people do. They think that by knocking on wood, it's going to help their good luck continue. Okay, so I can say a sentence like this. In all my years of driving in Canada, and it's been more than 20 years. I've been driving in Canada for over 20 years, guys. In all my years of winter driving, I have never hit the ditch. Knock on wood. All right, so driving in Canada can be very scary. You know, in a lot of parts of Canada, you have dead zones. Do you know what a dead zone is? A dead zone means that there's no phone signal. Okay? If you leave the cities here in Canada, you're driving out on the highway, your phone, you might not have any internet. You might not be able to call anybody, or you might not get any internet. You might be in a dead zone. So that snowplow is a bit loud out there, guys. Hopefully it doesn't bother the audio quality for you. But yeah, so like, what would you do if you hit the ditch and you're in a dead zone? It means you can't call anybody. Forget about it. Would you need to just sit there? You know, Canada's a huge country, guys. You know, sometimes it's like, sometimes you even see signs that will say like the next town is like 100 kilometers, or next fuel station is 200 kilometers away or something. So that means you have to plan, right? So the government put a sign there to help you prepare. Say, okay, you have to be mentally prepared that you can't, like, between now and the next 200 kilometers maybe, there's going to be no help. So you're just on your own. Wow. Imagine that. That's scary, right? This is really common. It doesn't even matter who your cell phone provider is. Cell phone provider means your cell phone company, the company that gives you signal. Okay? So most cell phone providers, you get good reception in the city. But when you leave the city and you're out, like, let's say, imagine you're out here in the wilderness, like, your phone might not work. You know, this happened to me so many times on my Canada trip. Remember in 2019, did a trip across Canada, made a series of videos on my channel about it, and I think I even made a video about internet, that the internet in Canada it's not great. really expensive. It's kind of sucks. You might be out here and you just get no signal on your phone for a long period of time. So it's just massive dead zones all across Canada. So it can be really scary. So just imagine, guys. Imagine you hit the ditch. It's minus 40 degrees outside and you're in a dead zone. Imagine it's at night. What are you going to do? You're just dead. Guys, it's really scary. Now, you might be thinking, well, no, Mark, I'm just going to sit in my, in the cabin of my vehicle. I'm going to have the heater on. I've got enough gas to run my car for a long time. I'm just going to sit in the ditch, run my engine, and stay warm by having the heater cranked. If your heater is cranked, that means it's the highest setting. Okay, if you crank something, it means like you go like this. Maybe the volume of your car. Imagine you're driving, you're listening, your favorite song comes on the radio. Oh, you want the volume to go higher? You crank the volume. So you can crank the volume of music. You can crank the air conditioning, crank the heating, crank anything. It means to increase it a lot. So the thing is, if you hit the ditch, right? The ditch is full of snow, guys, in the winter. All winter here in Canada, the ditches beside the highways are full of snow. So if you hit the ditch, that means your car is literally going into the snow. And then your heater is not going to work. Did you know that? If your car is under the snow, your heater is not going to give you hot air. It's going to blow cold air at you. So I've never experienced this, but apparently I think you're supposed to just turn off your car. I think the best thing to do is just to turn it off. I don't know. If you're an expert, let me know in the comments. What are you supposed to do? But you don't expect that your heater is going to be blowing hot air and that's going to keep you warm. It's not. So, man, it can just be that experience. I'm so glad that's never happened to me before. But it happened to my friend a long time ago, to a roommate that I had. So he hit the ditch. Right? He called me up. I said, Mark, I hit the ditch. And he was driving back to Calgary he was about an hour north of Calgary one night. It was in the night. I don't know why everybody loves driving at night. It's dangerous. Guys, don't drive at night. But I do all the time, and other people do. So my friend was driving back home and he hit the ditch. He called me. Actually, I don't know how he got rescued. Somebody rescued him and drove him to the nearest town. So he was at somebody's house. And he called me from that person's house and he said, Mark, can you come and rescue me here? I'm at someone's house. They saved me. I hit the ditch. Yeah, so it was cold that day, guys. It was freezing, probably around minus 30 degrees, and really windy and stuff. So I bundled up. If you bundle up, that means you put on your jacket, your scarf, you put on all your winter clothes, right? So I bundled up and I got in my car and I went out, started driving. It was about an hour drive away where he was. So I started driving and it was scary. Man, it was so scary. And again, there were so many cars in the ditch. And at one point I saw a car that looked like it had just recently gone into the ditch. And so I actually stopped my car and I went to look in the car to see if anybody was in there. Because I was thinking like, man, if this person might need to be rescued, right? Because this is a life or death situation, guys. Have you ever experienced minus 40 weather? Let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced what it feels like. So let me tell you what's going to happen. If you are outside in minus 40 degree weather and you take a breath, instantly your nose hairs are going to freeze. Right away. Just try it. Come to Canada here, go outside in minus 30 or minus 40 degree weather and go like this. Your nose hairs are going to freeze and you're going to feel your skin start to freeze on your face. I mean, the rest of your body, you're going to be wearing a jacket and gloves and a toque. So just your face here, it's going to start to freeze and you're going to feel your eyeballs start to freeze and you're going to get scared. You know that you're going to die. I've been in this situation a few times where, you know, it's very scary. You know that you need to get inside within a few minutes or you're dead. So it's scary. Man, it's really, really scary. So yeah, my friend hit the ditch. I went to save him. Fortunately, I picked him up, went back to Calgary, and yeah, he was very thankful for that. And it was guys, that was scary, right? Everybody needs help sometimes in life. Do you have someone to help you in a situation like that? It's dangerous to be in Canada if you're driving out and you're alone. You have no help. Maybe nobody even knows you're out there. You know, if it's anything more than minus 30, I would say it's just extremely life-threatening. It's a life-threatening situation. And people die, guys. People die from this stuff. They freeze to death because maybe they're unprepared. I mean, even if you have jackets, like you should have a winter kit in your car at all times. Have some sort of winter survival. I think I maybe have made a video about that. I can't remember. You should have extra jackets, blankets, boots, gloves. You know, you should have all the gear and stuff. But even then, if it's minus 40, man, guys, it's hard to stay alive in that situation. So anyway, those are just a few stories about my scary winter driving experiences. I've had so many scary experiences. Let me know. Have you had any scary experiences? But guys, please heed my warning. Okay, I want to know if you're coming to Canada here, do you know how scary winter driving is? I want you to really heed my warning. The word heed means listen to me. Take it to heart. Don't let my words go in one ear and out the other. Right? If words go in one ear and out the other, that means you don't really think it's that important. You just, you don't remember it. Just in one ear, out the other. If you heed my words, that means it goes in an ear and then it stays there. You keep it there. You keep it. You take it to heart. Okay, so please take this to heart. Don't romanticize winter. Don't romanticize winter. Romanticize means you think about something in an idealistic way without taking reality into consideration. Okay, so a lot of people, when they think about winter, they think about it in like a romantic way. They romanticize it. And they think it's great. Like, look at this picture. Okay? Look at this. This beautiful weather, right? It's a beautiful picture. You got snowflakes, gently falling. You got a guy taking pictures here. He's not wearing gloves. He's not wearing a toque. So we know that this weather is perfect. This is great winter weather, right? It's probably around 0 degrees, maybe minus 1 or 2, minus 5. Anything below minus 5 or minus 10 degrees, you really need a toque You need a toque and you need gloves or mitts. Otherwise if you're gonna be out there for a few minutes, you're gonna freeze. Your hands are gonna freeze. But if it's like around 0 degrees, that means you can go for a nice walk. You could walk for probably 20 minutes or half an hour with no toque or no gloves. So that's what seems to be happening in this picture, right? Oh, I want to experience snowflakes. I want to build a snowman. I want to have fun. Well, let me ask you a question. How many days in the winter, how many days is the weather like this, where snowflakes are falling, it's not too cold, you can go outside, you can enjoy the winter? How many days? I would say not many. Somewhere between 0 days and maybe 10 days. Okay, in a winter, where the weather is like this, where it's actually cool. It's great. It's a good experience to be outside walking. The snow is gently falling. It feels nice. It's just a few days every winter. Most days, it's going to be like minus 20 or minus 30 degrees. Some days you might get lucky. You might get lucky and have days like this. But is it worth it to, is it really worth living in a place where you have to deal with so much scary weather, and for just a few days of good, of like nice romantic kind of weather? I don't think it's worth it, right? It's not worth it to deal with so much fear. Guys, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it means you've never experienced this kind of thing. And when I mean fear, you realize, when you realize you're going to die, or that you could die, like when I stopped my truck on the highway, I couldn't see anything. Everything was just a total whiteout. Fortunately, I made it home, but I made it home because, sometimes blizzards, sometimes it can be a total whiteout for a few seconds, but then then suddenly you can see a little bit for a few seconds. And that's what it was recently when I was caught in the blizzard. The only way I made it home was I could drive really slowly, and sometimes looking down to see if I could see the line on the road, or sometimes the snow, because see, the snow in a blizzard, the snow kind of whirls around. It kind of just blows in bursts. You have like a gush of snowflakes, and then it kind of maybe stops for like 1 second, and maybe you can see a line for like 1 second. And so, it was just, I was driving extremely slowly, and I don't know, I made it home, guys. I made it home. But so many situations like that where I've thought, I don't know how I'm gonna make it. I don't know what's gonna happen, Oh man, guys, so don't romanticize the winter. It can be nice, but really, if you want to experience, I would say, if you want to experience that kind of winter, go to a place that's not super cold. Like, I'd say a lot of parts in Ontario are kind of around the Great Lakes there. It snows a lot. Right, places like Toronto, right? It snows a lot there, but the temperatures are usually not as severely cold as on the prairies. And we're going to take a look at a map in a few minutes here. So yeah, guys, please heed. That means listen to my words. Heed my warning. Don't take winter lightly. Don't think that Canada's a country where someone's going to come and save you. If you're stuck in the ditch, and you're in a dead zone, you can't call anybody for help or anything. Even if you can call people for help, guys, even police vehicles or ambulances, if it's a whiteout outside, they can't even drive. They don't know where they're going. You can't. Everything just comes to a stop. So it hasn't happened to me very much where I think this was the first time in my life. Maybe there were a few times where I've literally had to stop my car on the highway. Just stop driving. That's usually pretty rare. Usually you have a little bit of visibility. Usually maybe you can see something, or I don't know. You can kind of drive very slowly, but in this situation, I had to just stop. It was scary. So here's a map, right? So these provinces in the middle here, Alberta to Manitoba, these are called the Prairie Provinces. I would say this is basically the death zone of Canada. Not the dead zone. Dead zone, we're talking about the cell phone signal, cell phone reception. I mean the death zone where you're going to die in the winter. If you, like that day when I was tailgating the semi, I felt like if I hit the ditch here, I'm dead. That's the way I felt. Because all the emergency vehicles are already busy doing other things. And whether was I in a dead zone, I can't remember because I was usually, if you're far away from a city, just expect that your cell phone provider won't be able to get you the signal. So the provider means the company, right? The company that gives you the internet. So cell phone providers have towers in different places, but like I said, if you're in a city, then for sure you're going to get signal. But if you're outside of a city, you might not. It's a very high chance you won't get signal, right? So yeah, I would say this is just so cold. Here, this area of Canada gets extremely cold. So it's just deadly. So usually I think in this part of Canada over here, it doesn't get as cold. It snows a lot over here. So if you kind of love snow and you want the romantic type of thing, well, it's probably better to move somewhere over here, I think. I don't know. In BC, it doesn't get that cold. It rains a lot, even in the winter. It can rain. So if you want freezing rain, then, maybe move over there. But, it's anywhere in Canada. If you're going to be here in the winter and you're going to drive in the winter, just know, guys, it's scary. You may be scared. Like, are you scared to drive in your country? What is it? What makes you scared? Maybe it's other drivers, or maybe it's, I don't know, what could happen to you if you're driving in your country. Here in Canada, the dangerous thing is the cold, because when we get these cold snaps and you still have to drive, sometimes you have to take a risk and just drive. But man, it's scary, guys. I'm telling you. I hope you don't have to do it. So if you can avoid this, avoid night driving. Okay. Very few people may be able to help you if you're driving at night. If you're driving in the day, usually people can see you, or maybe you can get out of your car and wait on the side of the highway for someone. Probably avoid highways in the winter if you can. They're dangerous places, guys. Avoid old vehicles. If you don't know much about vehicles, I don't know much about cars, guys. If you're like me, old vehicles, they just have problems. Okay, I'll tell you two short stories. A long time ago, this is maybe about 20 years ago, I had a really old car, And one time I was coming back, I was driving home from a friend's house, and I was in a residential neighborhood, so I was driving very slowly. I was coming to a stop sign. I went to press the brake, and there was nothing. The pedal was just loose. My brakes totally failed. And I'm coming to a stop sign. I was like, oh, what do I do? And just like, I panicked. I don't know how I stopped. I think I either slammed on the emergency brake. I think the emergency brake helped me stop, or I think I just put my car into park. I tried to jam the gear into park or something like that. I can't remember exactly how it was. I don't even think I stopped. I think I was in the middle of the intersection before I stopped, but it was night. So that's one good thing about night driving, is that nobody's out, right? There's very few cars on the road. That's why I like night driving, actually, to be honest. The reason I like night driving is because there aren't as many other drivers on the road. It's like more relaxing. It's kind of peaceful and stuff, but it's also more dangerous. So yeah, if you have an old car, things can go wrong. Like my brakes just totally failed. That was a scary experience. Another vehicle I had was a very old vehicle. The engine, one day I was driving in Calgary. I was on Deerfoot Trail, which is kind of the big road that goes north-south through Calgary. I was on Deerfoot Trail, and the engine of my car just seized up. It just seized up and stopped working. And so my tires kept going, and so I kept rolling. So I just rolled over to the side of the road. I pulled over to the shoulder, and I stopped. Do you know what seize up means? This is a hard word. Did I spell it right? Yeah, seize. Seize. If this word is just alone, if this word is alone, it means to grab something. Seize. Like imagine if a robber, comes to you and seizes your purse and runs away, right? Seize and run, or if you are going through an airport security checkpoint and you have something on you that you're not supposed to have, the people there, the security people, are going to take it from you. They're going to seize whatever you have. Okay, some illegal thing. They're just going to seize it, and they're not going to give it back to you. Okay, that's called seizing. But if it seize up, if something seizes up, it means when something that is supposed to move stops moving. Okay, it's like when a motor or an engine, right, is supposed to be moving, right, but then suddenly it goes like this. It seizes up. Maybe there's not enough oil in the engine or something, so it just seizes up. So that's what happened to my car that day when I was driving. And so another thing that can seize up is a muscle. Okay, have you ever experienced muscle cramps? Like usually people get cramps in their leg muscles, maybe at night. Sometimes this happens to people at night, where you suddenly wake up and your leg muscles are just have seized up, and it's painful, right? That's called a muscle cramp. But what's happening is your muscles are seizing up. Maybe if you don't drink enough water, for example, you don't have enough hydration, and your muscles just start to kind of seize up. It's very painful. I've experienced that many times where my leg muscles just kind of seize up. It's something that it's not supposed to happen, right? It's supposed to be somehow moving normally, but it's something how it just goes like this. It stops. Like if you want this to happen, if you want your muscle to get tight, well, that's a different word. Like if I go like this, right? What I'm doing is I'm flexing my muscle. So the word is flexing. Flexing means you're choosing to do it. Well, if you're not choosing to do it, but your muscle starts to like get tight and seize up, and we use this word seize, to seize up. My muscle seized up. So in that situation, when I was driving in Calgary, my engine of my car just seized up. And it was so depressing, guys. Oh, I remember that. I was super depressed. I think a week or two before that. Oh, my screensaver just went off. That was a long video, guys. I warned you. I was warned you had to start rambling. Thank you guys for sticking with me. Yeah, so that was so depressing because I had just recently done some repairs on the car. I'd spent, I think, $900 on car repairs. And then the engine seized up, and I ended up just whatever. What happened? That was years. It was about, that was probably about 10 or 15 years ago. I can't remember exactly, but that car I just lost it. I mean, it was the engine. So what happened was I had a distant relative that I called. This was in the middle of the night. I called a distant relative. He came and picked me up and drove me back home. The next day, I called a tow truck, and my relative picked me up again, drove me to where my car was, the tow truck, towed my car to a shop, and I got I asked the mechanic, how much is this going to cost to fix? And the whole engine, I think, needed to be replaced or something. I don't know, guys. I think it was going to be like thousands of dollars to fix. So I think I don't remember the details. Sorry about that. But maybe I can't remember if I sold it to, because I've had so many cars over the years. In my life, I've probably had mostly old, very old cars. That's the thing with old cars. They break down, and then you're in a situation where you have to get another car, and you're just going to go through so many problems if you own old vehicles. I've had, I don't know, in my life, maybe 20, 30 vehicles in my life. It's crazy. So this, I think now I remember, with that car where the engine seized up, I sold it to an auto wrecker, I think. So an auto wrecker is basically a company that takes old cars that don't work and just sells the parts. So I think actually I listed that car on Kijiji. I put that car as an ad on Kijiji, and I said, for $100, who wants to take this car for me for $100? And some guy said, yep, I'll do it. I'll take your car for $100. So I think he gave me $100. So I sold that. He came with a flatbed truck to the mechanic shop, and he took my car, gave me $100, and that was it. But I just spent $900 to fix the car. So guys, buying an old car is like, at that point I was really poor. I had very little money at that time in my life, and it was like $900 was literally such a massive loss. It was a huge loss for me at that time. So yeah. So, sometimes vehicles, the engine, the motor just seizes up. I can't even remember the car I bought after that. Man, I've had so many cars. It's just ridiculous. So, yeah, I would say avoid old vehicles. If you don't know much about cars, just avoid them. Avoid being alone. It's so nice to have someone. Like I said, I had a distant relative living not too far away. This relative helped me a lot over many years with car problems. Very thankful to him. But if you have someone in your life even one person in your life around you somewhere who can help you, who can pick you up if your car breaks down or something. If you don't have that, it's going to be potentially dangerous. It's going to be scary. It's going to be super inconvenient for you. So, yeah, in a way, like, if you can not be alone, that's a great thing. Otherwise, you're going to have to call you're going to have to call a tow truck, and if it's at night, the tow truck might be able to come and get you, but you're probably going to have to pay a high rate at night. So I'll give you another story. One time I was driving, I was between Calgary and Medicine Hat. Okay, so I was actually kind of getting close to Medicine Hat. I had a flat tire. Suddenly I was driving and, oh no, my tire is going flat. So I realized that. I pulled over to the side of the road. It was about minus 20 degrees that day, windy, and I just pulled over to the side of the road and I stopped, and I was like, oh, what am I going to do? It was like in the middle of the night. I think it was 1 or 2 a.m. I didn't know how to change the tire on that truck that I had. It was a Toyota Tundra, and on the back of most pickup trucks, the spare tire's on the back underneath, and it's kind of an awkward you have to get the tire to drop. And I've tried to figure it out. I couldn't. I think maybe I was missing a piece or something, because when I bought that truck, it was a secondhand truck. I bought that truck. I don't think I checked to see if all the things were there for changing the tire. I don't know. I didn't check it. So anyway, I can't remember, but I had some problem changing the tire, and it was super cold and windy, and I was like, oh boy, I'm just going to call a tow truck to come out here. So I called a tow truck. Tow truck came and towed my truck back to the city of Brooks, and it towed me to a mechanic shop. And this was in the middle of the night, right? The mechanic shop is closed, but a lot of mechanic shops, what they do is they have their mechanics, they know about these situations. These situations happen in the middle of the night sometimes. So they'll keep their cell phone on, and they'll charge you an overnight rate, $150. So this cost me. So yeah, we got to the shop. I called this mechanic. He answered the phone. He was sleeping, right? His all groggy voice. Hello. I was like, hi, my name is Mark. I got a flat tire in the middle of the night. I need help. And he said, okay, my overnight rate is $150 to change a tire. So I said, let's do it. So he came out. He was there within 5 minutes. Nice guy. He patched up the tire. And like 20 minutes later, I was back on the road. Cost me $150, but it felt good to be going back. I was going back on the road. So yeah, you're going to face these situations, and it's just, it can be scary. You might not know what to do. So my advice is, if you're going to come to Canada, just think through everything. Think through this. Are you really going to be able to do winter driving? Are you going to be able to handle it? What are you going to do if you break down? What are you going to do if you hit the ditch? What are you going to do in all these situations? So like that, in that situation, I was all alone, right? It was middle of the night. I was far from any. Thank God I was in a place that got cell phone reception. Imagine what I would have done in a situation that was, if I was in a dead zone. Well, I would have been screwed. Right? What am I going to do? So, yeah, I would have had to, in that situation, I wasn't in the ditch. Okay, so my engine would kept running. I would have sat there all night and stayed warm. I had enough gas to last all night. So yeah, everything would have been okay. Ultimately, I would have, I don't know, I would have somehow managed to get myself out of that situation, even if I was in a dead zone. But if you're in a dead zone and you're in the ditch and it's minus 40 and you can't leave your car running, that's a life-threatening situation. So you might be wondering, like, if you're going to come to Canada, which kind of vehicle should you buy? I would recommend buying a new vehicle. I've had so many problems with old vehicles. Like, you might buy a vehicle and it's just a lemon. Okay, a lemon is a vehicle that it's just garbage. It doesn't work properly. Okay, so you might end up buying a lemon, so that's not good. Then you just wasted all your money, right? So I would say probably the best option if you're in a situation like me where you don't know anything about cars, the best thing probably is to buy a brand new vehicle and a brand new truck. If you're going to do any kind of highway driving in the winter, you need probably a truck that has four-wheel drive, even if it's not going to be highway driving, even if you're in a city. Okay, a truck can be really useful because it has four-wheel drive. Some SUVs also have four-wheel drive. But yeah, that's what I would say. A brand new truck. Like, actually, just a few days ago, I was in a situation where, so my truck has four-wheel drive, right? I was in a situation that didn't seem like there was kind of a snowdrift outside of my condo building. And my truck is just normally it's in two-wheel drive, right? It's better on gas if you just use two wheels to drive it, right? And so it's in two-wheel drive, but I got stuck. My truck got stuck in this snowdrift, and I was like, "Well, I got four-wheel drive." So I put on my four-wheel drive, and it just went out. It was great. So four-wheel drive is really good to have in normal situations, because in that situation a few days ago, if I had just had a car, a two-wheel drive car, I would have been stuck right outside my condo, literally like 10 feet away from my condo. I would have been stuck. So, winter driving, you're going to need to have I would recommend buying a brand new truck. Okay? The problem is that's going to cost you a lot of money. How much is it going to cost you? It's going to cost you about $1,200 a month. That's a lot, just for the truck. Okay, so how much does it cost if you buy a new truck on payments? Let's say you pay no money up front, and I got a notification on my computer. My disk is almost full. Hey guys, I ran out of disk space on my computer, so I had to stop the video, delete a bunch of old junk to free up some disk space, and in the meantime, I went and grabbed a bit of pizza that I made yesterday. Look at that pizza, guys. That's good. So anyway, thank you for sticking with me in this long video. So, as I was saying, it's going to be, so if you buy a new truck in Canada, obviously it's going to depend on what kind of truck you buy. Some trucks are really expensive. Some trucks are cheaper. If you buy a new truck, kind of a lower range truck, it's going to cost you around maybe $50,000, between $50,000 and $60,000. and your payment is going to be about $800 a month. Okay? That's going to be your car payment. But then you're going to need to get insurance and registration. That's going to cost you $200 a month. And then you're going to need to put some gas in your car, right? Most trucks are not electric. These days, I don't think I've never seen an electric truck on the road in Canada. They're all gas trucks. Maybe next year we'll start seeing electric trucks. So that's a lot of money, right? So if you buy a new truck, expect to pay this amount every month, somewhere around here. If it's going to be a nice truck, or if you do a lot of driving and you're spending a lot of money on gas, it's going to be more than this amount. So that's a lot of money. Now, if you're rich, then you don't have anything to worry about, right? But imagine if you're poor, and imagine if you get a job, a normal job here in Canada. How much money are you going to make every paycheck? What's your paycheck going to be? You're going to get a paycheck every 2 weeks here in Canada if you get a normal job. So minimum wage in most provinces is around $15 an hour, or maybe higher in some provinces, maybe $16 or even $17. But let's say you get a job where you're making $20 an hour. Okay, so you're making significantly more than minimum wage. How much is your paycheck going to be? So every 2 weeks, you're going to get your paycheck. It's going to be about $1,200, okay? The same amount that your car expenses are going to be every month. So your job, every paycheck, which is every 2 weeks, right? You're going to get, it's going to pay for your whole month of car. So just think about this. Half of your total income is going to go toward your monthly car expenses. Truck expenses in this case. So that means your next paycheck is also going to be $1,200. That's all the money you have left for everything else. Rent, food, Netflix, pizza. Is pizza food? Pizza should have its own category, right? You got your food expenses and then you have your pizza expenses, right? So will you be able to live? So if you buy a car, a new truck, will you be able to live on $1,200 a month for everything else? Like, are you going to be able to find an apartment to rent for $1,200 a month, including all utilities and everything? No. You might get lucky. You might find a cheap apartment with all utilities and internet, maybe for $1,200 a month. Maybe. So then there's your whole paycheck. Now you have no more money for food. What are you going to eat? Are you going to starve to death? So really, what you have to do is avoid vehicle ownership. You know, this is probably the best option in Canada, just totally steer clear of vehicle ownership. If you steer clear of something, that means you just avoid it. You can say, I made a decision to steer clear of vehicle ownership. It means you just don't want to even think about owning a vehicle. That would be a good thing because, guys, vehicles are such a source of problems for people. So what I would recommend is this. Avoid vehicle ownership. Choose a place to live where you can work and shop within 100 meters. Okay? So you're going to live in an apartment and you're going to have within 100 meters a job and a grocery store that you can buy food to stay alive, right? Maybe you can work at the grocery store. That'd be great. And you can just shop after each shift. You can go home and you can walk home. You don't have to worry about a car payment or anything. You can save $1,200 a month. Think about that. $1,200. That's a lot of money. Every month you're saving to not have a vehicle. If you buy an old vehicle, sure, it's going to save you money up front. But in my situation, I've had so many vehicles break down. And then you have to literally, like I sold my broken down vehicle for $100. And I bought it for, I think it was around $2,000 or $3,000. So you paid $2,000-$3,000 for it. I drove it for a while, and then I put like $900 of repairs into the vehicle, and then it broke down, and then I had to sell it for $100. So you're going to be in those kind of situations over and over again if you go with old vehicles. That's the only reason I'm recommending a new vehicle. The problem is then you're going to have no money to buy food if you have a new vehicle. So you're in a situation where if you have no vehicle, you need to be able to walk to work. Guys, taking public transit to work here in Canada, it's just too much. Like, to take the bus, you're going to be like wasting hours and hours every day on the bus to get to work. I just wouldn't recommend that. So choose a place to live where you can walk to work and you can do shopping within 100 meters. Why 100 meters? Well, let me ask you this question. If it's minus 40 degrees outside and you need to go to work, how far do you want to walk? How far are you willing to walk? Like I said, you're going to leave your front door of your house or your apartment, and instantly your face is going to start freezing and you're going to start walking to work. How far are you going to make it without dying? I would say you don't want to be walking more than 100 meters. Just think about this. Blowing snow. It's dark. It's depressing. It's freezing cold. Your body just wants to freeze and just you can't walk that much, right? 100 meters is the distance of about a soccer field. I wouldn't want to be walking more than 100 meters in minus 40 weather, guys. That's the maximum I would want to be walking outside. Okay? So this is my advice. Try to live in a place where you can work and shop so that you don't need a vehicle at all, right? So that's really the thing I'm saying. Avoid the way you can avoid all these scary situations is just to not have a car. Don't drive in. Don't own a vehicle. Don't go anywhere. Don't go on the highways. Don't drive in blizzards. Okay, so there it is, guys. That's my advice, guys. Life in Canada is very hard these days for a lot of people. A lot of people are struggling financially a lot. Like I said, you can't have sometimes you're going to need to either make a decision. Am I going to eat or am I going to have a car? You can see I can't do both, right? You can't. Maybe you can't pay rent, you can't eat, and you can't have a car. So you've got three things here: eat, car, rent. You might have to get rid of one of them. But which one are you going to get rid of? The easiest one to get rid of out of those three is a car, right? Because you can't get rid of food, otherwise you're going to die. You can't get rid of your shelter over your house, otherwise you're going to die. You can't be homeless out in minus 40 degree weather. You're dead, right? In some countries you can be homeless and the weather won't kill you. Like maybe a country like India or the Philippines or something like that. Maybe you can be homeless. But here in Canada you cannot be homeless. you're going to die. So a lot of people are in a situation where they can't afford a car. And so they do have to spend hours on a bus every day to go to work. But that adds a lot to your day, right? Imagine you have to spend an hour going to work on a bus and then an hour coming back. And you're working let's say you work an 8-hour shift, which is full time, right? That means your total day is going to be 10 hours. I don't know, maybe it's all right. You can do some productive things like listen to podcasts or learn English. Maybe you can watch my videos while you're on the bus or something. You can get a pizza, eat some pizza on the bus. I don't know. But it's hard these days. A lot of people in Canada are really struggling these days. So, especially in the winter, in these cold months, it's so depressing. Really, really depressing. You know what? Sometimes I see funny videos on Instagram when I'm scrolling through the videos. There's like a funny kind of videos you might see where people are walking through snow and it's cold and it's like depressing, and they're just repeating this. They're repeating this phrase: no alligators, no hurricanes, no earthquakes. Right? They're trying to be positive, even though everything is like cold and depressing. They're repeating, no alligators, no hurricanes, no earthquakes, no alligators, because we don't have these in Canada. So this is a good thing about being in Canada. We don't have any alligators. We don't have any hurricanes. We don't have any earthquakes. I should put down my piece of pizza instead of holding it here. So, every country has its threats, right? Something that wants to kill you. In Canada, the thing that wants to kill you is the winter. It's freezing. The nice thing about Canada is we don't have really dangerous animals that live in residential areas. Like, there's not if you live in a city, there's not going to be a bear trying to kill you in the city. There's not going to be, you're probably not going to get malaria by getting bitten by a mosquito here in Canada. I've never met anybody in Canada who's gotten malaria. We don't have we don't have hurricanes. Sometimes there are tornadoes in different parts of Canada, but we don't have hurricanes. We have blizzards, but we don't have earthquakes really. Maybe some minor earthquakes here or there, but no, we haven't had any major earthquakes in Canada for as long as I can remember. So these are the good things that we don't have here, that in many countries, right, there are major earthquakes and your house gets flattened. To flattened means it gets destroyed. Your house comes down because of the earthquake, or maybe there's a hurricane or typhoon or something that just destroys your house. Maybe you have dangerous animals living around you. I remember, guys, when I was in Thailand, I saw someone had I saw it is real news. Okay, real news that a snake had come up through someone's toilet, and I can't remember if the snake bit them or killed them or something like that. This is some crazy news story. It happens in places in Thailand and other countries where snakes will come up through your toilet. Can you imagine that? You're just sitting on the can. If you're sitting on the can, that means you're using the bathroom. Right? You're just sitting on the can, looking on your phone, scrolling through Instagram, and suddenly a snake literally, and this was in Thailand. This was a big snake in that news story. I think it was a python, or I don't know, some big snake. Wouldn't that be scary? Suddenly a snake comes up and just wow. I mean, that would be really bad. We don't have there are deadly spiders in Canada. There are I think that we have black widows here and brown recluse spiders, but that's more like out in the woods. I don't think people really have them in their houses. I could be wrong. I don't know. I've never seen them. So Canada's nice in a way that we don't have a lot of the dangers that exist in other countries. But the really dangerous thing is winter. It's scary, especially if you have to drive. Any kind of winter driving is scary, but especially highway driving. That's just scary, guys. If you hit the ditch like my friend did, it's just such a problem. You're going to have to get a tow truck. But if all the like when my friend hit the ditch, I think he had to wait a couple days, and then he got a tow truck to come and pull it out, and it was just a massive issue. It's going to be a massive problem. So that's why I say just avoid vehicle ownership if you can, guys. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. What are dangers in your country that maybe we don't have in Canada here? Would it be worth it for you to trade, to come here? Like maybe in your country, people are repeating the phrase, no blizzards, no black ice, no, I don't know, no hitting the ditch, right? If you live in a country like Thailand or like the Philippines or Germany and Germany gets cold too. I think they have blizzards in Germany, but it doesn't get as cold as it does here in Canada. Maybe you're repeating a phrase like, to try to stay positive. No blizzards. So do this, right? If you are in some country and it's pretty nice and warm, and if you are encountering problems, just repeat this phrase, okay? No blizzards, no black ice, no hitting the ditch. No blizzards, no black ice, no hitting the ditch. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. I want to know, have you ever had a scary winter driving experience? Let me know down in the comments if you've ever had these, because they're very scary. I'd be interested to hear your experience. Did you hit the ditch? What happened in your experience? Maybe you were in an accident or something. Fortunately, I have never been in a serious accident. One time I rear-ended someone. Actually, that's happened a couple times. But there was no damage to the other vehicle, so they just let me off the hook. One time I was driving over a bridge, and there was like a patch of ice, and the other vehicle stopped in front of me, and I hit the brakes to stop, but my car didn't stop, and I slid right into the back of her car. She quickly got out. We looked at the vehicle, looked at her car. There was no damage. There was no damage to my car. Not that that wasn't the issue. I wouldn't have cared if there was damage to my car. I was just worried that she was okay. We weren't going fast, so I didn't like hit her hard enough for there to be an injury or something, but she let me off the hook. Another time I rear-ended someone in a parking lot. It was just a minor thing. It was a Chinese guy. This Chinese guy gets out of his car. I don't think he really spoke English properly. So he gets out of his car, and we looked at the damage. Like, I stopped right away. We both got out. We looked at there was like no damage. So he said, "Oh, it's okay, just go." So he was a nice guy. He let me off the hook. So yeah, let me know, what are your scary winter driving experiences, guys? Oh man, guys, you don't know how scary these can be. Winter in Canada can be so scary. So it's better to not have a car, to just have a little apartment somewhere and just hunker down during the winter. Hunker down just means just wait until the cold weather goes away. But know that in Canada, you're going to have about 100 days of very cold weather every year. 100 days, maybe more than 100, but probably just think about 100 days every winter. It's just going to be brutal. So, do you really even want to come to Canada? You know, still, Canada's a place that a lot of people want to come to, and I'm so thankful to live in a country where people want to come here. Like, if you're in Iran right now and you're being persecuted by the Ayatollah, well, that means Canada, you know, is a much better place to live, right? Like, here you're not going to get persecuted, maybe, by people. At least I hope not. I haven't been persecuted by people here right now. I'm not getting persecuted by the government. I'm very thankful for that. I'm thankful I have enough food to eat. But it's better to come be in Canada right now and have not enough food to eat than to be in Iran and being persecuted by your government, right? So anyway, guys, should end this video before I get too political. But here, you can have a bite. You can have a bite of my pizza, guys. Look at that nice olive on top. Wow. So anyway, thank you so much for sitting with me enduring this long video. Let me know if you'd like more long videos like this. I kind of like sitting down with a topic and just kind of like, you know, sprinkling in some vocabulary words here or there that maybe are new for you. So anyway, guys, hope you have a wonderful day wherever in the world you are. Let me know where you're watching from. As always, I love you very much. Hope you're doing great. And as always, I'll see you over in the next episode of Mad English TV. Take care.